Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. I am Akash Chawda, a student in the Department of English at Maharaja Krishna Kumar CG Bhavnagar University, and this video is prepared in response to the studio activity assigned by Professor Dr. Dilip Barad Sir. And in this video, in this task, we have to create a small video which analyzes particular film or the particular shot from the film or a few slates or frames from the films like green screen, mise-en-scene or particular frames. So for this task, I have selected a movie, Look Back in Anger, which was released in 1959. And this is an adaptation movie of the same name of the play written by John Osborne, Look Back in Anger. And this particular movie is directed by Tony Richardson, and the screenplay was written by John Osborne and Nigel Connell. So moving further with what is frame study. So frame study in which we have to analyze a particular sequence or the particular frame from the movie, and by doing that we get to know a deeper understanding of the particular frame in the larger context of the movie, and we get to know about the visual composition, thematic techniques which is employed by the director in the frames. That all things we get to know about the we get to know from the doing frame study from the movie. So it also provides the insight into the director's artistic choice behind selecting this particular frame. And this frame, this movie, which I am going to analyze, is kitchen sink realism, in which the technique of classical realism, which was used in the 1920s and 1950s, in those eras movie, the classical realism was employed, and this movie is a particularly black and white movie. So using of light also becomes significant. And if I talk about the plot line of the movie in brief, so this movie is about Jimmy Potter, our protagonist, belongs to the working class or a lower middle class family, and his wife, uh, Allison, who belongs to the upper middle class family. So this binary between upper middle class and lower class or a working class is clearly shown in this movie, and this is the main thing because of this their marriage is kind of an unhappy, miserable marriage life. They are not a happy married couple, and Jimmy is a kind of a volatile man, disillusioned, and all the time angry and frustrated man. And this couple lives with the Jimmy's friend Cliff, and later on, Allison's friend Helena comes also in the movie. So let us start our frame study. So first, these two frames comes, and this particular frame set the tone of the Jimmy, our protagonist. He is playing loudly trumpet, and you can see his eyes. He's drunk, and he's kind of frustrated with his marriage, and he cannot express himself thoroughly. And in his marriage, he is also miserable. And through this trumpet is kind of a symbol throughout the movie, through which Jimmy express himself. So, through the loudness of trumpet, Jimmy is expressing himself loudly because he's otherwise unable to express his emotion, nor neither to Allison uh, nor to his friend Cliff. So, moving further, this particular frame is a shot in mid shot, or we can say close shot angle, and you can see the Jimmy camera is here, and Jimmy is overpowering the camera, and alongside with the overpowering camera, he is also overpowering this Allison, and in which you can see the expression of facial expression of the both the characters. You can see the Jimmy kind of a angry facial expression, and on the other hand, you can see Allison with his submissive expression. This we can see in this frame. So the framing often isolates them in the same space, which highlights their disconnection and tension between them. Moving further, this particular frame is quite important frame which employs the neo-realism, in which the artist or the director of the movie uses the natural light as much as possible. They use the natural light to make the frame more realistic or add one more layer of the realism to the movie. So in which we can see there is a kind of assembly line of these working class people on which their stall will be put on, and our protagonist also working in this. So yes, you can see this kind of a natural use of the natural light and all the things which also add to the realism overall in the movie. Camera work and natural light enhance the realism of narrative. And this particular frame also adds to the depth of the realism. In the background you can see, first of all, this is a close shot, and in the background you can also see the herd of people who are working there. This kind of a picture you often see in the Indian movies. They are Indian directors showing the herd of the Indian people who are by and large working class people. So here you can also see that as well. uh, okay, so this frame also is one of the striking frame in whole the movie. And in this particular frame you can observe the emotion and confinement of the Allison. And you can compare to the these caged birds as well. So in the frame, not only is the bird caged, but Allison is also trapped in this miserable and oppressive marriage which is imposed on her by the Jimmy. And this frame also is kind of a good frame to study, and in which you can see the Mrs. Tanner uh, is standing on the graveyard. Background is the kind of a ominous background of the graveyard scene, which also uses the natural light element. And you can clearly see the contrast between background and Mrs. Tanner. And this is kind of not a, a good omen, it is a bad omen. And which also culminates in the death of Mrs. Tanner and stillbirth of Allison's child as well. So yes, this analyze justifies when the later in the movie, Jimmy gets the news of the death of Mrs. Tanner. This particular frame makes the triangle between the three characters, which foreshadows the love triangle between the Jimmy, Helena, and Allison, which is also significant. We can see the symmetry of the triangle. Moving further, this particular frame is also important and significant frame, which symbolizes the distance in the relationship between the Jimmy and Allison. Afterwards, Allison try to escape from this oppressive marriage and her miserable life, and she looks back at the Jimmy from the back glass of the car. This frame symbolizes Allison's attempt to escape Jimmy's oppressive influence as well. Uh, this frame is also an important frame which highlights the vulnerable side of the Jimmy. We often see that female protagonist rest on the shoulder of male protagonist, but in this movie it is kind of a different scenario. Here we can see, and we this not this kind of scene we do not see quite often, like male protagonist resting on the shoulder of female protagonist, but here we can see in this movie quite multiple times. And in the first frame, when Jimmy is resting with Allison, sorry, uh, the Jimmy's face is quite hidden and also almost hidden, and we cannot see his face clearly. This also shows that he is not happy in the marriage with Allison, and there is no clear light given to the Jimmy. And in the second frame with Helena, you can observe that Jimmy's face is clear. He is kind of happy with Helena as being his lover, and you can see the clear crisp light is provided to Jimmy on their both the face are clearly visible in this frame. Jimmy is angry and frustrated, but deep down he just wants to be happy and to be loved by Allison or by Helena, but he cannot get love from anywhere. So moving towards the last frame of this presentation, and this is the climax frame, second last frame from the climax of the movie. In this frame, you can see the quite contrasting light on the two characters. First of all, if we talk about Jimmy, Jimmy's face is not clearly seen. And on the other hand, if we see Allison's face, it is quite visible. The crisp and pure light is provided towards Allison's face, in which we can see that it is a kind of a confessional box where Allison is a priest and uh, Jimmy is standing in the confession box and confessing all his misdeeds towards his wife Alison. So this is all from my side, and let us sum up this presentation. So while doing by doing film frame analysis of the any particular movie, we get to know about the inner turmoil between the characters, or we can see frustration. And this particular in this particular movie, it is about the frustration and reflecting struggles of the individuals in a conformist society. We can see the rift between the upper middle class and uh, a lower class, or we can say working class family. And through the analysis of the frames, we can get a deeper knowledge or understanding of the movie, than large movie in the larger narrative. So this is it from my side. Thank you. I hope this video will be helpful to you.